We cannot wait for more damage to be done. I'm Jessica Denson, and this is Lights On. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe where you are watching this to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel. As you know, Lights On is the home for action. This is a show that I do because I am a citizen invested in this country, and I'm not willing to let it die on my watch. That's the one and only reason that I do this show, and I'm been so honored to be connected with the people who are really willing to do the work that needs to be done now. One of those people is Representative Shri Thanedar. You've heard his name recently. He is the first to bring new articles of impeachment against this lawless president, and I'm really excited to have him as a guest on the show today. So we're going to welcome Rep Shri Thanedar in just a few minutes from now. Now, I opened with a quote directly from him, what he said when he was asked about why he filed these articles of impeachment. Obviously, we know we cannot continue to wait. We are literally living through a Nazi resurgence in the United States of America in 2025. We witnessed terrorism of ICE raids this week. American citizens are being deported. Migrants are being sent to concentration camps in El Salvador with no recourse to ever get back, having never committed a crime in their life. The United States government, with no subtle irony whatsoever, is simultaneously enabling outright ethnic annihilation of the people of Gaza, forced starvation, something that, to be honest with you, I am sorry that I have not covered more on this show. There has been so much, but the fact that we have an actual genocide going on in the backdrop of all of this, enabled by the United States government, while this lawless administration is bringing back remnants of what preceded the Holocaust in this country, is unthinkable. To think that we would wait and not pull out every constitutional lever, every stop to combat this now is unthinkable. Of course, if you're tuning in live right now, you've probably heard the news that the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, was arrested, charged with trespassing, although it appears that there is not an actual trespass that took place. What happened was he showed up at this new ICE detention facility in Newark, New Jersey, a detention facility that was a for-profit prison reopened called Delaney Hall. A lot of the Democrat representatives, including Senator Cory Booker, have been very outspoken about this prison should been reopened in the first place. He showed up with a number of Democratic representatives to conduct oversight of this facility and protest what they have said was not permitted opening of this facility, that it was opened in violation of the city's laws, of Newark City laws. I want to show you, before we bring in Rep Thanedar, before we have this conversation about whether or not now is the right time to be invoking the Constitution of the United States to save us from this insanity, I just want to show you what happened today in Newark, New Jersey. Look for the gentleman with the dark brown jacket and the black hat. That is Mayor Ross Baraka of Newark, New Jersey.
I'm not letting you. You cannot push. You cannot push. You cannot push. You cannot. Congressman, get over her. Listen. Goddamn, just stop. Just stop right here. Clear the way. Member of Congress, put on brown shirts. You'll look the part.
I wanted to play that whole clip for you so you could hear the end where they're calling them the Gestapo and the brown shirts. And I see people in the comments saying the exact same thing. To think that this is not reminiscent of Germany in the 30s is to think wrongly. This is exactly the kind of behavior that led up to unthinkable crimes against humanity. We're already witnessing crimes against humanity. We cannot wait. And that is why, as I have been repeatedly highlighting on this show, the majority of Americans are behind impeachment and removal of Donald J. Trump. I'm going to remind you about this poll that I have been sharing with you for the last couple of weeks. This is a poll from right around April 25th. It shows that 55% of independents, over 80% of Democrats, and 52% of Americans writ large, including over 20% of Republicans support impeachment. It is extremely popular. That's kind of part of the reason why I don't go through the minutia of Donald Trump's legal ins and outs on this show, because it's kind of like an insult to me, and I feel like an insult to you. We lived through this 8 years ago and for the next 4 years of his first insane presidency. This man committed insurrection. He is currently disqualified from holding office under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. He's an adjudicated insurrectionist. We, the American people, know who this man is. We are not stupid. I don't believe he was elected freely and fairly in this election at all. But even if you take the numbers at face value, less than a third of American voters, a third of eligible voting adults voted for this man in 2024, less than a third. So we're not stupid. We get it. We know that this lawless, cognitively declining, enabled by fascist sycophants must be removed from power. We get it. We, the American people, get it. And we are demanding that our lawmakers do the same. So far, only one representative has stepped forward and filed articles of impeachment. As we know, Representative Al Green has been promising that for some time now. He now says he's going to file his articles of impeachment next week, and we're looking very forward to that. But one representative has actually done it. It is Representative Shri Thanedar of Michigan. Just yesterday, the folks at the May Day movement, who we've also had on this program, having a sit-in on the National Mall until Donald Trump is impeached and removed, presented Rep Shri Thanedar with what they called Good Trouble Award, a Good Trouble Award in honor of Representative John Lewis, the great Representative John Lewis, and the sacrifices that he made, willing to get in good trouble, willing to engage in civil disobedience like the mayor of Newark did today, if that even was civil disobedience, because I didn't see it trespass. As far as I could see, he was on the outside of those gates. But this is what we were dealing with. It is absolutely my pleasure and honor to welcome Representative Shri Thanedar to Lights On. Rep Thanedar, welcome.
Thank you, Jessica.
So I really just want to ask you, first of all, to your reaction to what we have seen just today. If I can add on top of it, we had a comment from, I think, the Joseph Goebbels of our day, Stephen Miller, saying that they may suspend the writ of habeas corpus under so-called terms of insurrection, which is quite ironic coming from an insurrectionist. Can you just give us your thoughts on today's news alone?
Well, look, this is not an isolated incident, but elected officials being arrested by federal agents. This is what's going on, a attack on our democracy, utterly unconstitutional acts by someone who thinks like a king or thinks like a dictator. And we need to point that out, and we need to resist.
Why did you file your articles of impeachment last week when you did? What was the choice? What point did it get for you to bring them when you did?
Well, look, the key point was when he defied the Supreme Court orders. Supreme Court in a 9-0 verdict said that Garcia must be brought back. He should facilitate bringing Garcia back. And he refused to do that. Just the other day, when he was asked if his job is to uphold the Constitution, and he said, I don't know. Here is a person that admires kings, dictators, and he really wants to be a dictator. He said he's going to be a dictator on day one. He's been a dictator for 100 days now. And it was important that I stand up. It was important that I pointed out, not only let American people know, but also it was important that I put Donald Trump on notice.
Absolutely. I mean, Rep Thanedar, he has been in my mind and in the mind of, the constitutional scholars like John Bonifaz of Free Speech for People, who's been compiling a petition that has now surpassed, by the way, over 500,000 signatures for the impeachment of Donald Trump. We are all of the opinion that he's been committing impeachable offenses from day one. For example, pardoning his fellow insurrectionists, individuals who were convicted of seditious conspiracy, violent uprising against our own government, which of course Donald Trump was the leader of. He pardoned these individuals on day one. So the notion to me, like, I just have no patience for people who say now is not the right time. When is the right time? How many of our family members have to be sent to slave prisons in El Salvador? How many people have to disappear off the streets? I mean, how much does our economy really have to collapse and, shelves be empty and people be wondering where they can buy toilet paper? I mean, how much do things have to fall apart in this country for us to take action?
We got to point it out when these things happen. I'm not going to worry about what's the consequences. I'm not going to worry about will it pass in the House, will it pass in the Senate. What my focus is that he has committed crimes. He has abused his power. Look at that Trump meme coin. Through processing his businesses, his family has collected over $300 million. Look at when they, the lawyers who were on the opposite side in the lawsuits, they intimidated those lawyers. And finally, he made a deal with those opposing lawyers for a favor of $940 million. Here is a president who's using his power to personally gain. That's bribery, that's corruption. These are all impeachable offenses, and I decided to bring those out.
Bring those articles. Well, I'm going to address what I know you are aware of, and a lot of us in this space, in the May Day movement, from Citizens Impeachment, Free Speech for People, we are aware of the headwinds that you have faced since you brought these articles. Now, these are not headwinds from the American people. The American people, Rep Thanedar, are on your side, but they're headwinds from Democratic leadership. I highlighted on my show last week a comment from Representative Pete Aguilar, the head of the House Democratic Caucus, saying, really trying to pour cold water on this. We know this has come up from a number of prominent Democrats. That said, there's also a growing list of Democrats, of your colleagues, that do support impeachment. So you most certainly are not alone. But what would you say to these members? I just wonder, Rep Thanedar, if they understand how incredibly disconnected they are from their base right now.
Absolutely.
Do they understand this is what the people want?
Look, what I did was I had, by this weekend, I will have 14 in-person town halls all over my district. Each town hall is attended by about 200 to 250 people. I'm also doing some teletown halls where 11,000, just yesterday I did a teletown hall, 11,000 people joined my town hall. So, what I'm hearing loud and clear is, what are you doing? What are Democrats doing to stop this illegal, unconstitutional activity, this abuse of
Right.
power? What are Democrats doing? And, this is what people want. People aren't worried about, will this pass? What will happen next? People are worried about that. We need to stand up. We need to stand up and not be afraid, not worry about politics of it, not worry about how will it play in the elections in 2026, not worry about how it's going to play in those borderline seats, close seats. What we need to do is we need to do it simply because it's the right thing to do. It is as a member of Congress, my constitutional responsibility, obligation. Look, I swore by the Constitution to protect and defend our Constitution. So did Donald Trump. Now I am following my oath in taking this action. Donald Trump has broken his oath and done activities to trample first right of amendment. He has trampled on people's free speech. Due process is the basis of our democracy, and he has denied due process to Americans. This has to be pointed out. We have to go loud and clear. And he noticed it. When he came to Michigan, he was coming to Michigan to celebrate his 100 days in office. And I knew there'll be lots of lies and claims and unreasonable claims. And on the 99th day, I filed my articles of impeachment. And on his way from the airport to the Macomb County, where he's going to go and boast and talk about he's the greatest president ever, I wanted him to see my billboards, and my billboard simply says, Rep Thanedar asked that Congress impeach Donald J. Trump.
Nice. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yeah, Representative Thanedar, now you mentioned honoring your oath. I would be remiss, and this is kind of like a parallel conversation, but not the same conversation. I don't know how familiar you are with me, but I founded a movement back in January called 14th Now. And it was really just a grassroots movement of individuals who were not willing to let us pass this threshold into authoritarianism without demanding that our lawmakers uphold Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And I spent literally a month on this show debunking all of the misconceptions about the ramifications of Trump v. Anderson, reiterating with constitutional scholars, including our friend John Bonifaz, why in fact Trump remains disqualified. And yet the entire body of Congress on both sides of the aisle, yourself included, and I'm looking for a genuine answer here. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Why did you not object to the certification of Trump's electors on January 6th based on his status as an adjudicated insurrectionist?
Well, look, we had elections, and I assume they are fair and just, and I wanted to honor and respect our electoral process, and that's why I voted for that. I went to his inauguration, not because I like him or I love him. I went to his inauguration because I was simply doing my duty, my job to be there. And, I expected him to do what he said on his campaign trail. He talked about economy. He talked about inflation. He talked about bringing down the prices. That's what I wanted him to do, because that's what he promised American people that he will do. And that's why many people voted for him. All he has done now is grab the power that Congress has, like the tariffs. He has put this unreasonable, misleading tariffs. Some tariffs are on one day, they are off another day. All of this has created cost. He doesn't understand that he can't just put tariffs on foreign goods coming into America and very next day manufacturing start happening in the United States. You got to plan for it. You got to make provisions. You got to have incentives for this manufacturing to happen in the United States. We all want America to do more manufacturing than ever before. However, this needs to be planned. This needs to have a vision. You can't wake up in the morning one day and just do these things without thinking.
Well, lest we forget, this is a man who was a failed businessman. He had a facade of success. He was really someone who declared bankruptcy 6 times and was repeatedly bailed out by Russian oligarchs who were laundering money through Trump Tower. So, I mean, this man is a Russian asset. You say he won a fair election. I've done this show. Listen, Rep Thanedar, you're in a special place today because this show is fearless. We have tackled some really hard conversations that I understand a lot of the Democratic establishment and the party writ large was afraid to tackle because of the optics, because of how much Donald Trump gaslit the conversation about election integrity in 2020. They were afraid to ever tackle it again. And I've had election security experts, voter suppression and investigative journalists that know that millions of people were purged from the rolls. Did millions of people vote for Donald Trump in this election? Yes. Was it free and fair without interference of hundreds of Russian bomb threats and many other factors? Absolutely not. And then, on top of that, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, the safeguard that is baked in to that fundamental part of our Constitution is in spite of popular will. Even if an electorate votes in an insurrection, that clause still remains as superseding the will of the people for our protection. So, but listen, Rep Thanedar, I said this on my rally on 314 when Representative Al Green was the only one I knew of vocal about impeachment. I said he was the only one that was invited that day to our rally. If I knew about you then and you were vocal, you would have been invited. You are, in my mind, as far as getting past the Section 3 issue, you're the only one who's really doing the work now to honor your oath. This is a demand. The Constitution is not optional. It is a demand that each and every one of you must abide by, and you have taken that oath by accepting your place as a representative.
That's right. And look, my leadership doesn't want to do this. They think it's not the right time. They want to focus on Trump's cuts on Medicaid. They want to focus on how he's trying to swindle Social Security, how he's trying to take away the supplemental food for poor people. There is a lot that he is doing. Democrats want to focus on that, but not his unconstitutional activity. My point is simple to the leadership. We can do all of the above. We can resist Donald Trump. We can resist his abuse of power. We can point out his bribery and corruption. We can, point out how he's trampling choice in terms of due process. But at the same time, we can also protect Medicaid. We can also fight to make sure that the poor people who get about $6 a day through the SNAP program, the Supplemental Nutritional Program, they do get, their money doesn't get cut. No one has to worry about putting food on the table in a rich country like ours. Nobody should be worrying about whether they pay for their food or they pay for their prescription medicine. All of these are important issues, but at the same time, we got to protect our democracy. We got to, and we can do all of the above. That's what I have told, and I've been telling my colleagues in Congress, the Democratic colleagues, and that's what I'm telling my leadership in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and Rep Thanedar, you really have the life experience to be genuinely advocating for people in poverty or people that are struggling. You, I believe, grew up in poverty in India and in a family of 10, and you worked as a janitor in college to help your parents, and you came to America with $20 in your pocket and ended up becoming a very successful entrepreneur. So this is your story. You understand the plight of people who are starting with very little and need just some basic support from our government.
Yeah, I think 60% of the people in America live paycheck to paycheck. And that's how I did. I lived paycheck to paycheck. 6 sisters, a brother. My father lost his job. When I was in college, I worked as a janitor, cleaning offices, cleaning toilets to make money so my mother can put food on the table. And when I was 24, I was so excited because I got admission into a PhD program at University of Akron in Akron, Ohio. All I needed to do was get a student visa and come here, which I did with just $20 in my pocket, worked hard, and I love this country. I love America. I love the people of America. I love the promise of America. And I am, it's my patriotic duty to protect the democratic institution. This is the greatest country on earth, and it is my patriotic duty to protect America. And that's really what I am doing. I want to, after I became successful running small businesses, I said, I achieved my American dream, but it's time I go help others because, the American dream is not accessible to many Americans. And that's what prompted me. So I sold my business, took some of the sales proceeds, distributed to all of my employees, and then decided to run into political office so I can help people.
Yeah, I want to kind of just go back to something I was thinking about when you were talking before, because you were talking about, the headwinds of people who say you don't have the votes or things like that. And I was thinking about a quote I saw in your office from a picture that was taken yesterday when they gave you that Good Trouble Award. And it's a quote from Malcolm X about adversity. And God knows that I share this sentiment about adversity being such really a tool to make us achieve those heights that we really are all capable of. And, I just want to get your thoughts on some of these naysayers who say, we tried it twice impeaching this guy. It didn't work. The numbers aren't there. Leadership doesn't support it. I mean, this is really an opportunity, isn't it, to prove all of those people wrong?
Absolutely. All you have to do is not be in the Washington, D.C. bubble. Inside the bubble is all politics and what looks good and what the polls are saying and what's the next election is going to be like. But if you go in the streets, I go to Wyandotte the other day. There were like in Michigan, and we had about 400 people on the street there. I stood there, talked with so many people. People are angry. People are upset. People are frustrated. There is just so much fear in people about what's going to happen to their Social Security. Will they be able to get the Medicaid to save the life of their children? There is just so much anxiety. There is just so much concern. And among the immigrants, even people who are US citizens, people who have green cards, they're afraid to come out of their house because of the raids and because of what's going on. This is not America. This is not America. This is a country that honors freedom. This is a country that respects democracy and freedom. And what Donald Trump is doing is he's taking this country to tyranny. He's becoming a dictator and doing things that are totally illegal. Look at his cabinet. He brought in Matt Gaetz to be a attorney general, someone who has broken U.S. laws multiple times. Many of his cabinet members are billionaires. They don't understand how people live from paycheck to paycheck. And some of them really are doing, like Elon Musk, never elected, never confirmed by Senate, and Donald Trump has given him unlimited power. Elon Trump, a businessman who does business with United States of America, now has access to the very departments that he serves and he works. This is not what we are used to. We've seen Watergate and we've seen atrocities. We've seen presidents who have overreached their power, abused their power. But this man does this almost every day. He used a emergency of some sort to take the Congress's power to do the tariffs, and he has made a mess of it. and his tariffs are causing higher prices for American citizens. And when Amazon tried to show the cost of the goods and the cost of the tariff, he got mad and he asked Amazon to stop doing that. He has intimidated technology companies, and he's intimidated lawyers. He's intimidated his opposition. He has intimidated media. Now he's arresting judges. He arrested a judge in Wisconsin. Now he's arresting mayors in Newark. How far is this going to go? Enough is enough. This president must go. He must be impeached. And I'm going to go appeal to across the aisle. I want to tell the Republicans to grow a conscience. We just need a few Republicans to come our way to see what's going on.
Just four.
Just four.
That's it.
So this is doable. So those who tell me, look, all my life I have dealt with adversities, like you say about the quote from Malcolm X. All my life I've dealt with adversities. There are times when I didn't know where my next meal is going to come from. There are times when I went to bed hungry. And there are many children today all over America that go to bed hungry. There are many parents that are worried about how they're going to afford health care, how they're going to afford prescription medication. There are many parents today worried about childcare and the cost of childcare. There are many parents today worried about the rent, the ever-increasing rents, the cost of goods. $100, what it used to buy 2, 3, 4 years ago, today it only buys half of what we used to be able to buy. This president hasn't done his job. Look, I'm a Democrat, he's a Republican. I understand there may be policy differences, but this is beyond policy differences. This is incompetence. This is dictatorship. This is bribery. This is corruption. And this has to stop. This has to stop. Total disrespect for power of Congress. Total disrespect and defying power of the Supreme Court. This president must go. He must be impeached. And I'm not going to give up. If I may be the first one, I'm so grateful for Congressman Al Green. Congressman Al Green and I were together just yesterday. We had some time together. We sat down and talked. Congressman Al Green is supported my articles.
He's endorsed your articles. Absolutely.
He has endorsed. He's a co-sponsor. I thank him for his passion. I thank him for his courage. He is passionate about fighting this president and his misconduct, impeachable misconduct. And he agrees, and I agree, that this president, we must never let go. We must continue to fight this president, continue to point out his actions. And look, when I put those billboards, when I put those articles, he came to Macomb County. In his speech, he called me a lunatic. In his speech, he started name calling, but not once he answered those 7 articles. He never said why my articles are not right. It's a 29-page document. We have detailed out his misconduct, his impeachable misconduct. He or his supporters, they go crazy on social media, attacking my hair, my looks. But they have never talked about the merits of my articles. And Donald Trump the other day woke up or stayed awake midnight, and he went on a rant, and he asked that I be thrown out of Congress.
Expelled. Yep.
Expelled from Congress. Yep. A duly elected member of Congress. This person he's a dictator. He has abused the power of his office. He does not respect the separation of powers. He does not respect the judicial institution. He does not respect U.S. House of Congress. This president must go before we see more damage. Before we see more damage to our democracy. Already, what he has done in terms of economy, it's going to take decades to repair the damage Donald Trump has created to America.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Rep Thanedar, is with every passing second, the damage that is being done is attached to your colleagues that are unwilling to take action.
That's right.
That is their legacy, with every passing second that they refuse to join you and Representative Al Green.
Yeah, and Jessica, when I go to the town halls, many people ask me, what should they be doing to help me? Because this is not just I alone cannot do this. Al Green alone cannot do this, but we have a lot of support all across. You said even 25% or 20% of Republicans, 10% of those
Yes.
people who voted
Yes.
for Donald Trump now believe that Donald Trump should be impeached.
Yes.
So it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans who voted for Donald Trump are having buyer's remorse
Of course.
because this president has done things that are unthinkable. This
Yeah, and
president has
these
done.
people, like I have, Rep Thanedar, I know you're not deeply familiar with my story, but I come from that world. 8, 9 years ago, I was brainwashed by Fox News, and I learned the hard way that they don't give one iota about my well-being.
Yeah.
And every single one of Donald Trump's supporters or voters has that wake up call, that wake up day coming in their future, when they realize that his interests, his priorities, his ego, his motive to stay out of prison and out of any kind of legal accountability overrides their family's well-being and livelihood and safety. And the day that they realize that is going to be one very difficult one. So, welcome, come to the light, come over to the light
Look,
now.
look, Donald Trump's policies are hurting the blue states, but they're also hurting the red states.
Yeah.
Many of his supporters live paycheck to paycheck, and they're hurting. They're hurting. They're cutting down Medicaid. That's going to make it access to medical care, health care, access to prescription medicine is going to be harder. Many of his supporters are living on Social Security, and his attempt to cut down on Social Security is going to hurt them. So his own people, the people who supported him, people who voted for him, are hurting right now. And I think this tide is going to turn. It's a matter of when. And I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to talk about gloom and doom. I'm not going to worry about, hey, we did this twice before. Should we do this again? Absolutely. We need to stand up and say this, because this man is destroying our country. This man is destroying our democracy. And this man has abused his power of his office.
Absolutely. And you were talking about people coming to you and asking you, what can we do? How can they help? And I, as you know, have been very active in the activism space. I didn't ever imagine that I would be somebody who was planning and staging protests, but this is what I have become. And so I've been very involved in the protest movement over the past several months. We were the first in January in DC, from the 3rd to the 5th. And then, of course, that this movement has grown to millions in the streets. And one of my frustrations, and I know some of my co-organizers and some of the people that, are really invested in this space for Trump's immediate impeachment and removal by any and all constitutional means, are frustrated by the lack of direct messaging in these protests. And so, when I stage a protest, I say, come with signs, remove Trump. Be very clear about your objectives. Imagine if on June 6th, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more at the end of the show, D-Day, and June 14th, what's being billed as No King's Day, you don't just show up saying, I don't like Musk, I don't like Trump, you're an orange Cheeto dictator. Imagine if every single person, every single one of those millions of Americans comes with the sign that says impeach and remove. That message will resonate, and the media will be forced to cover it. They did with us on 314. They were forced to cover our messaging because I made it crystal clear. Let's do that in the millions in these protests. Be very direct about your demands, and that conversation and the pressure on Rep Thanedar, on your colleagues, could change exponentially if people do that.
Absolutely. And you're right on. And we just have to keep this momentum going. People are ready to protest, ready to resist. I have participated in several rallies, and we need to continue to put this pressure on. I think the message has been sent to Donald Trump that we are not going to take it. We are not going to take this attack on our democracy. We are not going to accept his bribery and corruption. We are not going to accept his defying due process, defying the Supreme Court. The message is loud and clear. He has gotten the message and will continue to speak. As a member of Congress, I just feel that it's my job, it's my duty. The people of Detroit, people of Michigan's 13th congressional district sent me to Washington, D.C. to make their lives better. Donald Trump's job is to make people's lives better. And all he is doing is grabbing power to benefit his families, his businesses.
It's all he's ever done.
That's all he has ever done. It's just so much conflict of interest and now total disregard to democratic processes, the very foundation. We are the strongest democracy in the world. And all he has done is just attacked our democracy with every action that he does. And when he says, I don't know, when asked, aren't you supposed to protect the Constitution? So you can hear him that he really wants to be a king. And in America, we have no kings and we never will. In America, we have presidents who have to follow the Constitution. That's their duty. That's the oath that he took. And we will make sure we'll hold him accountable. We'll hold him. I, as a member of Congress, will hold President Donald J. Trump accountable every day. And
okay. I'm gonna hold you to that, and that perfectly tees up to my next question because you have a rule in the House of Representatives. It's called Rule 9 of the United States House of Representatives, and this deals with what are called questions of the privilege of the House, and it includes powers the Constitution assigns solely to the House, including, among those powers, the power of impeachment. And so once a member has filed an impeachment resolution, as you have, and invokes Rule 9, if you are to invoke it, you could force a vote within 2 legislative days, 2 business days, on that resolution, either on the resolution itself or a separate resolution to table it or dispose of it, basically like a cloture sort of motion. But either way, it would put all of your colleagues on record as to whether they support this or not. And I've had people like John Bonifaz on the show saying, look, representatives, members of Congress could be doing this literally every single day. And you obviously could do it for your own articles, but to my understanding, even other representatives could be doing it for yours. Do you plan on invoking Rule 9 to force a vote on your articles of impeachment?
Yes, I do. And this is the first time I'm saying that. So we are creating some news on Lights On. But yes, I am, I think it's important. I know many in the establishment, party establishment, do not want me to do this. They do not want people to have to make that decision. And I think it's about time that we stand up, and not only Democrats, but Republicans, that either you are for this tyranny and dictatorship and unconstitutional, impeachable misconduct, or you are against it. And it's time for all of us to say, where do we stand?
Excellent. I'm very, very happy to hear that. Can you give us any sort of timeline on when you plan to do that?
Very soon, a matter of days. I will be taking this, and I'm not going to ask for anybody's permission to do this. I'm just going to do this because it's the right thing to do. I'm going to just do it to protect our democracy. I'm going to do it because that's my job, not anything else. It's my job to represent my constituents. It's my job to uphold our Constitution, and I'm going to do that.
Wonderful. Well, Rep Thanedar, the motto of Lights On is stand out. Stand out. This is from Timothy Snyder's book on tyranny. I will have to send your office a Lights On mug with the stand out logo, because I think you are really exemplifying this motto right now. It is one of the qualities that is absolutely requisite and essential to saving a democracy under attack like ours is right now. So Thank you, Representative Thanedar, for standing out.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. I love your program, Lights On, and I'm just proud to be here, proud to be talking about our country, proud to be protecting our democracy, proud to be standing up when it doesn't matter. Nobody's above the law, not even the president. Nobody's above the law. And when he breaks the law, when he does unconstitutional activities, it's our duty to call it out. Call it out, no matter what the consequences are. Look, I have been attacked on social media nonstop. My office has received 74 death threats. Just people have even called my home, and my wife has to pick up a phone, and she was terrified with some of the calls that she had to pick up. So this is really the price that you pay. This is the price, but this is the price worth paying for the greatness of America. We have to protect the greatness of America. And I am not going to worry about my re-election. I'm not going to worry about who is going to come after me. I'm not going to worry about all those attacks on me on social media. There's memes, and there is just people are distorting my background, they're distorting my pictures, my looks, and that is just my voice. They're just distorting everything. They're just going all out. And I have decided to do 2 more town halls this weekend, and I was told that they are going to disrupt my town halls, but I'm going to fearlessly go there, engage with my constituents, listen to my constituents. That's my job. I'm not doing a favor. This is my job, and this is why I love this country. I had nothing when I came to this country, and this country has given me so much, and it is my job to give back. So I'm so grateful to America. I'm so grateful for everything United States of America has given me, and this is the least I can do to protect the greatness of our country, future of our country, and future of our democracy.
Wonderful. Well, I hope that many constituents in Michigan, and I'm sure they will, many of your constituents show up this weekend in support of you and cheering you on and defending you. And I look forward to seeing that. I've seen some of these counter protesters show up, and they're always so puny, to be honest with you.
Sure, sure.
They talk a big game, but they really don't have much to show in person.
No, and stations like Fox News and the president himself have brainwashed. It's like a cult. The
Yes.
president is just a cult leader. He's a
Exactly.
con man, and unfortunately, good people in this country were deceived by him
Right.
and his promises, and people are suffering. People are suffering in the red states. People are suffering in the blue states, and we got to work for America. We got to, because of the love of America, we need to go keep protesting this president and keep resisting this president until he's gone.
Absolutely. All righty, Rep Thanedar. Well, such a pleasure to meet you. Congratulations on your work and on sticking to it. I'm going to play a clip in just a minute here to end the show with, which is exactly on par with what you're saying about standing up to these bullies, being fearless, not backing down. And it's wonderful to hear that you're doing that and that you're going to invoke Rule 9. Very exciting news. So thanks for breaking that here on Lights On.
Yeah, remember you heard this first time on Lights On with Jessica.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rep Thanedar. We'll have you back again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there you have it. This is what the American people want. You have Representative Thanedar standing up, standing for impeachment. You have a growing list of his colleagues that are willing to support impeaching Donald Trump. Now, you, of course, have heard of citizens impeachment, which is keeping a tracker on which representatives are for or against. And as far as I know, they're updating their trackers soon. So it's not just going to be, are you for or against, but specifically, are you co-sponsoring the articles of impeachment that have been brought, or will you bring your own? So they're tying a demand to where these people say they stand on impeachment. You can follow that tracker and get involved in their volunteer efforts, which I will tell you have been at the heart of just these articles being brought forward at citizensimpeachment.com. All those links are in the description below. Also, Free Speech for People's petition. And of course, 14th Now movement, which I'm going to get back to right before we end with an announcement about D-Day. Before we do, I want to play this clip from you, this clip for you. This clip is of Columbia activist Mohsen Madawi, which he was one of the many students who was here studying legally, unlawfully abducted off the streets by ICE for having engaged in his First Amendment rights. He's a Palestinian student. He is protesting this unthinkable genocide that, by the way, this week has just been so atrocious. They're literally killing hundreds of people, women, children, in one day. Our government is supporting the forced starvation of the people of Gaza. It's really unthinkable what is going on. And the people who have protested that in celebration of this country's tradition of free speech have been abducted by ICE. But this particular individual, Mohsen Madawi, you might not have heard his name yet, was allowed, thank God, by a judge to remain free from custody while suing over his detention by an appeals court just recently. And this is from a few days ago when he was released. I absolutely love this clip. I think it's the spirit we all need to embody. Listen to Mohsen Madawi.
We will not fear anyone because our fight is a fight for love, is a fight for democracy, is a fight for humanity.
Amen.
And I am saying it clear and loud.
Yes.
To President Trump and his cabinet.
Yes.
I am not afraid of you.
No fear. No fear.
That's right.
No fear.
And if there is no fear, what is it replaced with? Love. Love is our way.
Love is our way. Love is power. Love is not weak. Love is active. I'm going to share with you something that that in honor of Mother's Day. And by the way, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I hope you have a beautiful Mother's Day this weekend. My mother, who is a superhero in all respects. I love you, Mom, and you know that. Shares this article with me all the time. It's called As Birds Flying, and it's a metaphysical article, but it has this beautiful underscoring of the concept of defense versus protection. Defense versus protection. And defense is an active, quality, whereas protection is more of shielding and standing back. And I think defense, the more we can embody this concept of defense, and that's exactly what Rep Thanedar is doing right now with his articles of impeachment, the more successful we'll be. Listen to this. Some metaphysics for you here. Defense is not merely a state of resistance to error. It detects and attacks with the consciousness of God's allness any claim to existence, power, or presence apart from truth. True defense is an active state of thought which utilizes and expresses ideas of mind, like God mind, capital M, by proving the allness and ever-presence of divine principle, God, and the consequent nothingness of all unprincipled beliefs. Now, this is really acknowledging the power of truth, the power of love, the only real power that exists. Here's one more. The thought of protection generally implies that there is some evil from which one needs to be protected, whereas the thought of defense implies an active expression of worth, nobility, purity, truth, or goodness, which by its very nature repels and destroys all that is opposed to itself. Let's stay there. Let us be the defenders of democracy, knowing truly our worth and the value of everything that we know to be true. That's just where we need to be. That is how we win. I'm so grateful for you as always. Thanks for the patience during the technical glitch at the top. As a reminder, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel and turn on your notifications, do all that stuff that you have to do to make this show, combat the algorithms. You've been doing a beautiful job of that. And this movement that is Lights On has been growing so beautifully. And I want to thank you so much for that. In the D-Day protest that is taking place in Washington, D.C. on June 6th. Now, this is a veteran-focused protest. They're going to have some major names there, like the Dropkick Murphys, and they're locking down some other really big names. It's being led by the AFL-CIO. Listen, my friends, they're billing it as a nonpartisan event, but it is clearly a protest of this administration's attack on veterans, the insult to the sacrifices that they have made for our Constitution. And when you show up at this D-Day veterans protest in Washington, D.C., which I hope you do, I really hope there's millions on the National Mall on this day, bring those signs that say, impeach and remove Trump now. Be very, very clear and unabashed about your demands. If you want to register for the event, you can go to Unite for Vets, the number 4, uniteforvets.org, uniteforvets.org. I think it's going to be a really, really historic day. Let us make it our own. Let us make this an unequivocal message that in honor of those who have sacrificed so much for this country, this man who has sacrificed nothing and dodged service his whole life and is enabled by all these fascist sycophants must be removed from power now. Also, planning for the June 14th No Kings protest, another day that we expect millions in the streets all across this country. I will be speaking at one of the June 14th No Kings Day protests. And we are continuing to collaborate at 14th Now. We're going to have a lot more announcements in the future about the collaborations of 14th Now with the other movements, the wonderful movements that are going on right now. As a reminder, I've been telling you this, nobody's fundraising for 14th Now right now. If you get an email about that, not valid. If you get a Gmail account email that looks like 14th Now, or possibly a Proton Mail email that says like 14th Now press inquiries, none of these are legitimate. They are not tied to the 14th Now movement. I just have to put that out as a notice. There is an actual email on the nowmarch.org website if you really need to contact us, and there is a sign up button there. So just want to be very clear about that. As always, you guys know I love you so much. Have an absolutely wonderful weekend. Get involved. Be fearless. Know your worth. Exercise that true defense, and know that with it, we can and will win. Have a wonderful weekend. Let your light shine.